The wind howled through the ancient trees as Sarah's car crawled up the winding, overgrown driveway to Blackwood Manor. The sky was heavy with thick, gray clouds, and the air was suffused with an oppressive stillness that made her skin prickle with unease. Sarah had always been drawn to the macabre, so when she inherited the decaying mansion from her estranged great-aunt, she saw it as an opportunity to explore her passion for the supernatural. Her friends and family had warned her against it, insisting that the place was cursed, but Sarah was undeterred. She had spent her entire life chasing ghosts and the unknown, and she was determined to make Blackwood Manor her new haunted haven. As she parked the car, the imposing presence of the mansion loomed before her. The Victorian-era architecture was a shadowy silhouette against the dimly lit sky. Ivy snaked its way up the walls, and the windows were dark, like hollow eyes staring into the abyss. The rusty iron gate creaked open, as if beckoning her inside. Sarah shivered as she stepped out of her car and approached the grand entrance. The massive oak doors were cracked and weathered, and they groaned in protest as she pushed them open. A musty, ancient scent filled the air as she stepped into the dimly lit foyer. She had heard stories of the strange happenings at Blackwood Manor, but she refused to be deterred by mere superstition. Inside, the mansion felt like a time capsule, frozen in a bygone era. Dust-covered furniture, faded wallpaper, and cobweb-strewn chandeliers adorned the rooms. She had her work cut out for her in restoring this place to its former glory. Or, at least, that was what she told herself. Sarah had decided to start with the library. It was rumored to be the most haunted room in the house, and she was eager to begin her exploration of the supernatural. The library was a vast, dimly lit chamber with towering bookshelves that seemed to stretch endlessly into the shadows. The books were ancient and decaying, and they whispered secrets from the past as she passed by. She had barely begun her search for any records of paranormal activity when she heard a soft, mournful wail echoing through the room. The sound sent a chill down her spine, and she froze in her tracks. The mournful cry intensified, and Sarah couldn't locate its source. "Is someone here?" she called out, her voice quivering. No response. She pressed on, her curiosity getting the best of her. Sarah continued to explore the library, her fingers tracing the spines of the dusty books. As she reached for one, a sudden gust of icy wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles that flickered on a nearby table. The room plunged into darkness, and Sarah stumbled back in fear. In the pitch-black room, Sarah felt a presence near her, a cold, malevolent force. She fumbled for her phone and turned on the flashlight. The narrow beam of light revealed a figure in an old-fashioned dress, with long, flowing hair covering its face. The figure stood in the corner, its back to her. Sarah's heart pounded as she spoke. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure slowly turned, revealing a ghastly, twisted visage. Its eyes were hollow sockets, and its spectral mouth opened to emit a ghostly scream that pierced Sarah's very soul. She stumbled backward, her flashlight slipping from her hand and flickering out. Terrified, she fumbled in the darkness, trying to find the exit. The mournful wails grew louder, and the frigid air seemed to press in on her. Her fingertips brushed against the edge of the door, and she burst out into the hallway. Breathing heavily, Sarah retreated to the safety of her car. The mansion had shown its true nature, and it was clear that Blackwood Manor was no ordinary haunted house. The malevolent presence within its walls had made itself known, and Sarah knew she was not alone. As she drove away from the sinister mansion, she couldn't shake the feeling that something ancient and evil had awakened within Blackwood Manor, and she had unwittingly unleashed it. She could only hope that it wouldn't follow her, but deep down, she feared that her pursuit of the supernatural had plunged her into a nightmare she couldn't escape. The haunting of Blackwood Manor had only just begun, and the darkness that lurked within its walls would continue to beckon those who dared to enter its forsaken domain.